And on BBC One now, your points of view with Anne Robinson.
Good evening. Was Danny Baker's guest drunk? And why were members of the audience of Question Time horrid to the nice woman from the Times? And isn't Jeremy Paxman getting popular?
I'd just like to say well done to Jeremy Paxman, since he was kind enough to say it 34 times last Wednesday.
24, actually.
Well done. You're right, well done. Well done, well done. Right, well done. Well done, well done. Correct, well done. Well done. And finally, well done.
And isn't he gorgeous? Less so two guests on Rugby Special.
As the newly appointed captain of the England women's team, I was extremely pleased to see a piece about the women's game. But why did the editor leave in the ill-informed male chauvinist comments made by two so-called guest celebrities? Next time the producer wants a comment on women's rugby, I suggest they speak to somebody capable of answering the question. I've never heard a rugby critic discussing the relative merits of how decorous a male player looks on the field.
And if you didn't see this piece of classic sexist chit-chat from two grown men, Jeff Probyn and Troy Coker, here it comes again.
I have to say that I'm not in favour of it, not from any sexist point of view, but I like my women to be quite attractive without too many scars, too many ears like this, or broken noses. So, you know, rugby is a contact game. It's not really a game that I think women should play. But they enjoy it, so it's up to them.
Each to their own. As Jeff says, I wouldn't, look forward to going out with a bird that looked a bit like Jeff, but anyhow.
Unbelievable. Inside Story last Thursday told the unhappy but absorbing tale of Lloyd's victims, tens of thousands of names who'd underwritten risks and who now find themselves, the title of the film called it, wiped out.
By allowing Lloyd's the right to self-regulation in 1982, the British government itself underwrote its respectability. Then, in June 1991, the Lloyd's insurance market announced a loss of £510 million.
I now owe Lloyd's £3 million. My wife underwrote £1.5 million of premium. I wrote £2 million of premium.
We knew the risks of going into Lloyd's, but we did not anticipate that the worst losses in Lloyd's 300-year history would happen to coincide with our rather short span of life.
That last couple reduced to a mobile home, but viewers were not sympathetic.
The film didn't mention the reason these people got into the Lloyd's names game in the first place. All of them were already very rich, driven by their own greed and the chance to double or treble their fortunes. They played a game of their own volition and without having to deposit any money. Your gentleman who stood by his Bentley and sobbed didn't tell us how many millions he'd made from Lloyd's to start.
And?
My feeling is people never moaned when they were making money and raking in profit, but the minute they lose a penny, they start screaming and shouting.
Well, we asked producer Philippa Walker if she could tell us just how much money those featured in the film had made over the years they'd been associated with Lloyd's, and it turns out very few had made any at all because they joined syndicates only in the 80s when gains were tiny compared to recent losses. Casualty last Saturday featured a young patient with cystic fibrosis, this from a mother, Michelle Robinson of Coventry.
More than once it was stated that the young girl did not look 12 and was going to die anyway. As a parent of a child with this condition, it isn't helpful. If they were to take a look at my healthy 5-year-old, they wouldn't even know she had cystic fibrosis.
And on a point of order, Clive Abercrombie in Wellingborough.
Do casualty scriptwriters belong to some sort of minimalist group? The inquiry, "Are you all right?" a dozen times per episode is irritating me almost beyond endurance. If somebody's crying, screaming, hysterical and or bleeding, especially in hospital, they are not all right.
That apart, a nice man rang the duty office to thank the producer for reverting to the original video format after complaints that fiddling around with it to give a grainy look did not work. That nice man's call, incidentally, is one of nearly 500,000 made each year to the BBC. Points of View took a camera to find out what happens when you ring up.
Good evening, BBC Television.
Yes, can you put me through to someone who can tell me about a signature tune I heard on the other day, please?
Yes, you need our information office. I'll just put you through.
Information office, can I help you?
The Information or Duty Office, as it's often known, is where around 1,000 calls are put through every day. A staff of 16 man, or if you like, woman the lines.
The kind of calls that we get, I mean, it's vast. It could be a story on the news, through to a car on top gear, an address for the clothes show. We work off a database. This is only about a year old, but this contains what used to be a room full of filing cabinets and card indexes. It's got virtually everything that we would need to know.
It's Wigfield, and it's called Saturday Night. Yeah, you'll find it in any record shop.
Information office, can I help you?
BBC is rubbish. I'd just like to congratulate you on that last programme. I thought it was wonderful. Let me speak to Mr. Burt.
Complaints and comments make up a third of daily calls. All calls are logged and sent round to scare the wits out of BBC managers and programme makers.
Well, we do get some regular callers. We get those people that are armchair critics. I mean, they know everything about sport, religion, football. They can do anything better than anybody on TV can do. And a lot of the times, those people perhaps haven't got anybody else to say that to, so they'll phone us.
But taking the flak and taking it nicely is all part of the job.
I'm sorry about that.
That one was about a lady wanting me to advise Michelle in EastEnders to get her hair washed.
Was it you I spoke to earlier?
Right.
Yeah. I've no idea at all, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I don't know where to take that stay when they're in London, I'm afraid.
Goodbye.
And 6 calls to the duty office about the Danny Baker Show, and a letter from Kenneth Lambert in southwest London on the subject of Shane MacGowan, songwriter, musician, pop star.
He produced a bottle of drink, although he didn't actually drink on stage. He was obviously out of his depth and quite incoherent.
Was he perhaps drunk?
You are a great songwriter. Would you agree with that? More than all this other nonsense that's always written about you, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to boast. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I think I've written a lot of good songs, yeah.
Are you boozed now?
London,
Are you drunk now?
Am I drunk?
Oh, yeah, I mean, have you boozed?
No, I'm not drunk.
No.
I'm not drunk.
Cheers. Question time last Thursday came from Bournemouth, where the Tory party conference was taking place, but naturally the audience was balanced. The panel included Employment Secretary David Hunt and Times leader writer Mary Ann Sieghart. Here's Miss Sieghart.
I said I wouldn't mind if my children smoked cannabis, and I'd rather they smoked cannabis than drank alcohol.
And there followed a lively piece of debate, during which more than once Miss Sieghart was harassed and shouted at by members of the audience.
Not once, 3 times.
Tonight.
Have you said that?
You are disgusting.
Sorry, can you do it?
Yes, she is.
Well, can you... Well,
28 calls to the duty office, 12 complaining of left-wing bias, and a number supporting Miss Sieghart because, as more than one female viewer rang to say, she had a very tough time without much assistance from the chair.
I was very annoyed indeed to see the audience were allowed to insult her.
Now, at the start of the programme, we saw Jeremy Paxman saying, "Well done," 24 times. We've also been to Manchester to see what they thought of his programme.
Manchester. It doesn't always rain in Manchester, you know.
We've got some snazzy trams here.
Mancunian tonight, I play football. Manchester's got the biggest student population in Europe.
The programme's only a bit younger than Gorgeous Paxman. It started making stars as students 30 years ago.
Go starter again.
From September, it's had a new look, and isn't he wonderful?
Right, a start of at 10 and about 5 minutes to go.
At Manchester University, lecturers, staff and students had their say.
I remember Bamber Gascoigne as having a constant grin, as talking very fast and always saying, now there's stuff for 10.
It seemed to be that all students had funny hairstyles and big woolly jumpers and didn't really show any of the more down-to-earth, ordinary students.
I couldn't understand how the two teams were stacked one on top of the other. I always wondered how they got down afterwards.
It is interesting to see people functioning under pressure, their reaction to getting it right, getting it wrong, etc. That's itself interesting.
Newcastle Lion.
Sorry.
And if you'd like to appear, you have to be put forward by your university and undergo several tests.
Queen's Fry.
The whole point of a quiz is you should be able to think, oh, I could have got that. And on University Challenge, you just think, well, what sort of person would know that?
I like quizzes to have some challenging content if they're going to be quizzes which require knowledge.
And I think sometimes University Challenge can get a bit too specialised.
we like to, you know, shout the answers out and beat the contestants to it, and it's more fun when you know more of the answers.
And From Students to Pigs Might Fly, the first in a new series of Natural Neighbours, narrated by Griff Rhys-Jones. The idea was to put us straight to stop thinking of these incredibly intelligent, clean, fragrant creatures as lazy, greedy and dirty.
Go placidly amid the troughs and hay, and remember what truffles there may be in silent rootling. Maybe, deep down, there's something of a performer in every pig.
Bacon, down. Bacon, down. Good piggies.
They presumably have a sense of humour as well. Those two were called Bacon and Pork Chop. Anyway, many whoops of delight, quite rightly, for Michael Gunton's film, and a very pleased Henrique Hansen call from Northampton, although he is, in fact, from across the pond.
Only in America would a pig's passing be mourned so dramatically, but only here could I watch it on prime-time television.
And next, a bit of a unique occasion, a letter about Top Gear that has absolutely nothing to do with how sexy Jay Clarkson is, au contraire.
I feel I must vent my spleen, having watched once again what I call yobbos criticising £50,000 motor cars. There's Clarkson and Wilson dressed in jeans, and last night there was the second appearance of the new presenter, obviously from Birmingham, dressed in a Trilby hat. I'm sure dealers and manufacturers must cringe when these Arthur Daly types comment on their products. Please either get them smartened up or replace them.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings.
I happened to mention this at work this morning to Helen, the good lady who typed this letter, and we both agreed that when Clarkson joined the programme, fatuously criticising Volvos and the like, the BBC, after many years of quality motoring, has begun to lose its way.
That was from Mr. Jennings of Byfleet. A gem of a screen one on Sunday, dogging around. Geraldine James played the artist Minder. Elliot Gould played the has-been artist. Ronnie Scott played himself. But when it came to the end, and although they didn't tell you in the credits, Ms. James's voice was played by Norma Winstone. Here it is. Good night.
It all began so well, but what an end. This is the time a woman needs a friend. When every happy plot ends in a marriage knot, but there's no knot for me. I guess it's not for me.
If you have any comments to make about BBC programmes, please write to Points of View, BBC Television, London W12 7RJ. Phone or fax 081 576 4560.